want the window seat. Row 3, move whoever's there and give it to me.
Your boarding pass assigns you to 24F. That's also a window seat and it's already yours.
I don't care what the boarding pass says. Do you know how much my mom paid for these tickets? You work for us.
I work for the airline and my job right now is to board this flight safely. If you follow me, I'll show you to your seat.
Mom, she's ignoring me. Are you hearing this?
Excuse me, my daughter made a simple request. Is this really how you treat premium passengers?
I treat all passengers the same way, ma'am. Respectfully and by the book.
That is not good enough. I want your name and your employee number right now.
Renata Voss. And I'd be happy to write that down for you once everyone is seated and the doors are closed.
He's being so rude. This is unbelievable.
I'm going to post this. I have it all on video, and I promise you, by tomorrow morning your supervisor will know exactly who you are.
I certainly hope so.
Miss, I think you should just let her do her job.
Nobody asked you, old man. Mind your business.
Kendall, he's right. Ignore him. This woman is the problem here, not some stranger in coach.
Ma'am, I'm going to ask one more time. Please take your seats so we can proceed.
And I'm going to stand right here until you fix this. I'm not moving.
Gate B14 at Denver International Airport. A Tuesday afternoon in March that nobody on that flight would ever forget. The plane was a Boeing 737, full capacity, 47 minutes behind schedule, and right in the middle of the jetway stood a 12-year-old girl who had decided with absolute certainty that the rules of the world did not apply to her. Kendall Ashford had never been told no in any way that stuck. Not by her teachers, not by coaches, not by the staff at the 3 hotels her family had visited that year alone. Her mother, Diane, moved through life like a lawyer preparing a case against everyone who inconvenienced them. And Kendall had absorbed every lesson. She had learned that volume was power, that persistence was leverage, that the word no was simply the opening move in a negotiation she intended to win. And the woman standing in front of her, calm as still water, in a pressed blue uniform with a small silver pin above her left pocket, had given her nothing to work with. No frustration, no apology, no crack in the expression. Just that same patient, unhurried look, as if Kendall were a minor weather event she had encountered before and already knew how to handle. What Kendall didn't know, what she couldn't have possibly known, was that Renata Voss had spent the last 18 years in the air, that she had landed a crippled aircraft in a crosswind in Billings, Montana, that she had talked a panicking first officer through a hydraulic failure over the Rockies at 31,000 feet, and that the worst turbulence she had ever encountered had nothing to do with weather.
Are you seriously still not moving? What is wrong with you?
Nothing at all. I'll walk you to 24F now.
She doesn't want to 4F. How many times does she have to say that?
As many times as she'd like. The answer won't change.
Passengers in the first few rows had gone very still. The kind of stillness that happens when people sense something is about to break, but haven't decided yet whether to look away or lean in. A young woman in 7C, her name was Priya, had quietly unlocked her phone and held it at an angle that could have been casual but wasn't. And in row 6, a man named Marcus Holt, a retired air traffic controller who had spent 22 years working the tower at O'Hare, lowered his magazine, looked at Renata, and went very still in a different way. Not nervous still, recognition still. The kind of stillness that comes when you see someone you know standing somewhere they're not supposed to be, and you realize you're the only one in the room who understands why.
Fine, I'll sit in the stupid seat. But I want something. I want the good snacks, the ones from first class, and I want them before takeoff.
I'll see what I can do.
That means no. You're already saying no.
It means I'll see what I can do.
Kendall dropped into 24F with the energy of someone who wanted the seat cushion to know she was unhappy. She kicked the tray table open. She shoved her bag under the seat with her foot. She pulled out her headphones, untangled them with aggressive theatrics, and stared at the headrest in front of her like it had personally insulted her. But she had no idea what was already in motion. She had no idea that her real mistake hadn't happened yet.
When we land, I'm calling corporate. I have the CEO's assistant's email. I've used it before.
Ma'am, I really think you should let this go.
And I really think you should stay in your lane.
I'm just saying, you might not know the whole situation here.
I know exactly what I saw. My daughter was disrespected by an employee who should be grateful she still has a job.
Yeah, that's what I thought you'd say.
Marcus turned back to his magazine, but he didn't read a single word on the page. 15 minutes into the flight, something shifted. Kendall had decided that the temperature was wrong, the seatbelt was too tight, and the overhead light above her was flickering in a way that she announced to the surrounding rows was giving her a headache. She pressed the call button once, then again, then 3 times in rapid succession, the way a child presses an elevator button that isn't responding fast enough.
What can I help you with?
This light is broken, and it's too cold, and this soda is warm. I asked for ice 20 minutes ago.
I'll bring ice. The temperature is regulated for the whole cabin, so I can't adjust it individually. But I can bring you a blanket.
I don't want a blanket. I want the temperature fixed. That's your job.
A blanket it is.
Did you just ignore what I said?
I heard everything you said.
There it was again. That calm. It wasn't the calm of someone afraid to speak up. It wasn't the careful, practiced neutrality of a service worker swallowing their feelings to keep the peace. It was something older and quieter than that. The calm of someone who has already seen how this ends and isn't worried about it. Priya, still filming from 7C, would later say in an interview that she knew something was different about that flight attendant from the moment she watched her deal with the second call button incident. She said, and these are her exact words, "That woman walked like someone who owned the sky."
You know what? I'm going to speak to whoever is in charge of this cabin right now. I need a supervisor.
That would be me.
Then I need your supervisor.
I'll let them know you'd like to speak with someone.
Renata walked toward the front of the cabin. A younger crew member, a man in his late 20s named Cole, caught her eye near the galley. He started to say something. She shook her head, just barely, and he closed his mouth. He had been flying with her for 6 months and had learned to trust that look completely. What none of them saw was what Renata quietly retrieved from her crew bag near the forward galley. She didn't open it. She just placed it on the counter beside her coffee cup, smoothed down the front of her jacket, and walked back into the cabin with the same expression she'd had since the jetway.
You took forever. I've been waiting this whole time.
Here's your ice. And a blanket in case you change your mind.
Told you I don't want the blanket.
Then leave it on the seat. I'll collect it before landing.
You are the worst flight attendant I have ever had in my entire life.
I appreciate the feedback.
And then it happened. The moment that changed everything, not just for Kendall, not just for Diane, but for everyone who witnessed it and later watched it on a screen at home. Renata turned to check the seatbelt sign. 1 second, her back was to the row. 1 second was all it took. Kendall raised her hand and brought it down hard against Renata's arm. Not a tap, not an accident. A deliberate, open-palmed strike, loud enough that the couple in 23A and 23B both flinched at the sound. Priya's phone caught every frame of it. The cabin went absolutely silent. The kind of silence that has weight and texture. Diane froze mid-breath. Even Kendall seemed briefly startled by what she had done, as though her hand had moved faster than her brain, and she was catching up to it. Renata did not make a sound. She turned around slowly. She looked at Kendall for a long moment, then at Diane, then back at Kendall, with an expression that was not anger, not hurt, not shock. It was something else entirely. Something that made the hair on the back of Marcus's neck stand up in row 6.
Ma'am, I need you and your daughter to remain in your seats. Do not move.
She barely touched you. She's a child. People are staring at her and she got frustrated. You cannot make this into a federal situation over nothing.
I'll be right back.
She walked to the front of the cabin. She picked up the bag from the galley counter. She stepped through the door to the forward area, the one that most passengers never think about, and the door clicked shut behind her. Cole stood very still near the beverage cart and said nothing at all.
Lord have mercy.
He said it quietly, almost to himself. But the woman in 6B, his wife, heard him and asked what was wrong. He didn't answer right away. He just looked at the closed door at the front of the plane and said, slowly, and with something that sounded almost like wonder,
They have absolutely no idea what they just did.
2 minutes passed, then 3. Diane had started typing something on her phone. Kendall was looking at her nails. Priya was looking at the door. Then it opened. The woman who walked out was wearing the same face, the same posture, the same unhurried calm. But she was not wearing the same uniform. The blue jacket was gone. In its place was a white shirt with a dark tie, and on each shoulder, 4 gold stripes. The kind of stripes that mean only one thing on a commercial aircraft. The kind every passenger knows, even if they've never thought about it before, the moment they see them up close. Renata Voss had not been commuting to her next assignment. She had been repositioning to take command of this specific aircraft after the scheduled captain had been pulled from the roster with a medical hold 2 hours before boarding. She had boarded in uniform to assist the cabin crew during the delay because that was who she was, because standing around waiting had never suited her, because 18 years in the air had made her constitutionally incapable of doing nothing when there was work to be done. This was her airplane. It had been her airplane since before they'd pulled away from the gate.
Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for interrupting your flight. My name is Captain Renata Voss. I am the commanding officer of this aircraft. A few minutes ago, a member of my crew was physically struck by a passenger in row 24. I've contacted the ground team at our destination and also requested a security escort to meet us at the gate. I want to assure everyone on board that this situation is being handled and that our arrival will not be delayed.
The silence that followed was different from the one before it. That first silence had been shock. This one was something warmer. A woman near the back started clapping. Then another. Then more, spreading forward through the rows like something coming to life.
Wait, no, she was just a flight attendant. You were just helping with the bags. You can't just change your clothes and suddenly be the pilot. That is not how this works.
I assure you, ma'am, that is exactly how this works.
Mom, what is happening?
This is a setup. This is discrimination. I'm calling our lawyer the second this plane lands.
That is absolutely your right. Deputy Hargrove will be happy to give you time to make that call once you're in the terminal.
Deputy Hargrove was waiting at the gate with 2 colleagues when they landed. He was patient, professional, and completely unmoved by Diane's explanations. She had on video, Priya's video, which had already been forwarded to the airline security division during the flight, interfered with a crew member, encouraged a minor to escalate a confrontation, and engaged in verbal harassment of flight personnel, all of which carried specific legal weight under federal aviation statutes. Striking a crew member was a felony. Kendall stood in the jet bridge next to a federal officer and cried in a way she had probably never cried before. Not the performance tears of a girl who wanted something, but the bewildered, lost tears of a child who had finally, for the first time in her life, run out of room. Priya's video reached 4 million views in under 60 hours. News outlets picked up the story on the second day. Aviation law experts appeared on morning shows to explain, patiently and with some visible pleasure, exactly what the consequences of striking a crew member looked like in practice. The family was placed on the airline's no-fly list within 48 hours. Diane faced a civil suit. The criminal referral for Kendall, given her age, was handled through a juvenile diversion program that required, among other things, 40 hours of community service and a formal written letter of apology to Captain Voss. Renata never spoke publicly about the incident. She gave a brief statement through the airline's communications office, thanked the passengers for their patience, and noted that her crew had handled a difficult situation with professionalism. She did not mention Kendall by name. She did not express anger or satisfaction or anything that sounded like a lesson being delivered. She had already moved on to the next flight. Some people never learn that the world is full of Renata Vosses. People who say nothing, absorb everything, and wait. People whose real authority is invisible until the moment it isn't. Kendall Ashford had lived 12 years in a house where loudness was power and charm was currency, and it had worked everywhere she'd ever been. Until a Tuesday in March, in seat 24F, when she raised her hand against someone who had been quietly running the whole operation from the beginning. Justice doesn't always arrive with a siren. Sometimes it walks out of a door in 4 gold stripes and introduces itself by its proper title.